Hello everyone, I am Michael. I am the owner of Michael C. Wells Photography in Louisville, Kentucky, and I am the voice of the Kentucky Cardinals. Today we're going to be talking with head coach B.J. Shelley of the Kentucky Cardinals, asking him some questions, going inside the locker room, trying to get an in-depth look at the Cardinals and what's to come this season. Coach, thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. We're going to start out with the kicking game. Why haven't we gone with a more traditional punt formation these first 4 games versus what we're actually seeing on the field?
So to keep a long story short, why we don't go with a more traditional punt the first few weeks was because after our first Blaze game, we had to cut 23 guys. To replace those guys, I added about 19. I only had 3 weeks before season with those 19 guys. So we only practiced once per week, which is a 2-hour practice. That only left me with 6 hours prep time to get these guys prepared for our inaugural kickoff. Going into those practices, I decided that it was more important to focus on the guys that were going to play offense, to learn the offense, and the guys that were going to be playing mainly defense, to learn all of our defense and all the base alignments and calls. My mistake was figuring that we could brush over the special teams and that would be kind of common football knowledge and guys would just be able to do it. That's on me. We have fixed that. We have stopped and addressed all those issues, and now we know who's on punt and what everybody's punt responsibility is, as you can see with the last Cutters game. So now hopefully when we get into these punting situations, we'll be able to call for a more traditional punt and flip the field, allowing our defense to do what they do best and not allow points.
Special teams can be key, especially when it's the fourth quarter and it's the difference between a win or a loss. With that being said, where are the extra point and the field goal attempts? I mean, we know Reed is the man at tackling, but I have yet to see even an attempt.
Same thing as the punt situation with the field goals and PAT attempts. We lost all those guys, the guys that were on our PAT and field goal. So we had to spend that time with the offense and defense, like I said, with the punt. We have now addressed that issue. We know who's on our field goal attempt team. And now that Noah has been working, which I have to give him huge props. Him coming out 2 months ago, I was not comfortable kicking PATs or going for field goals. But he has put in a whole lot of work on his punts, onside kicks and kickoffs, and PAT attempts outside of practice. Huge props to him for that. In a matter of 2 months, he's earned my confidence to where I'll kick from the 30 if I can have the guys block correctly.
I mentioned in the last broadcast that I was confident with Reed making a field goal from about the 22 to the 25. You're saying the 30. That's really good confidence in your kicker, but yet we have yet to see even an attempt. So look forward to that. Why has the offense been so one-dimensional versus certain teams and not others? I don't see this consistency with the offense. Not that I'm supposed to, but it just seems that it's very one-dimensional per opponent.
To put it simply, with the offense, we take what they give us. With the Cavs, they gave us 2 alignments that we liked. They ran a 4-3. And their 2 box alignments were either a 7-man box, which we would try to throw on because that would leave us one-on-one situation with the slots and safeties and the corners and wide receivers. When they gave us a 5-man box, we would run the ball. We're going to do what the numbers allow us to do. With the Lake City Warriors, they came shorthanded, and they ran a defense that they typically don't run. They were in a 6-1 defense, which immediately takes away all of our run game, based off of their base alignment alone. So with them, we're again in one-on-one situation with the slots and receivers, which I consider that we did very well versus the Warriors with those matchups. I believe that Nick threw for 3 touchdowns that game. So without going into too much detail, long story short, we just take what the defense is going to give us every week.
Pretty much just adjusting to whatever defense is put in front of us. I like that. Very good answer. Moving on here. Is the team's strongest thing its defense? Not the offense, not the special teams. Is this team built upon its defense?
No question about it that our defense is our strongest suit. If we can get the offense to match their energy and stop putting the defense in such a bad field position to allow those easy points, then we're just going to keep winning games. If the offense can allow the defense to rest, put up a couple of touchdowns a game, and not allow easy points off of field position, we're going to continue to win games without a doubt.
I agree 100%. There's been so many times that the defense goes out there, stops them, the offense turns the ball over, defense goes out there again and has to go to work, stops them. Defense, 100% defense, always winning the games in this league. I know that one of our big players on defense is Curry. Why was Curry out for a portion of the Cutters game? I didn't see him in there starting. I saw him get back in there on some special teams. By the end of the game, I saw him in there on a regular basis, but I was just kind of confused as to why he wasn't the starter when he's so dominant on defense.
Nothing really juicy here. That was just a simple miscommunication between me and Chris. Chris plays a whole lot. He's a defensive captain, plays every special team, and is my tight end when we go into our bigger formations. That is a lot of wear and tear on him, especially if you've seen that man play. That he is very, very physical at all times. He gives a beating, but he also takes one, and I know that. Me and him had talked throughout the week. He said that his body was hurting a little bit, and the previous week versus Tornadoes, his groin had been hurting him. So I mentioned that I would like to do a rotation with him just to keep him healthy. Without Chris, we are not the same Cardinals team. I need him during the playoffs. I need his longevity. We've seen that we have some rotation guys that we can put in there and that will be okay without Chris. But don't get it twisted. That defense is a different breed when he is out there on the field, and I know that. So don't get used to seeing him on the sideline with me.
Saving key players for the playoffs, definitely a good strategy, but like you just said, we're not going to get used to seeing him sitting on the sidelines and waiting for his opportunity too much longer. Who is injured, and how are we addressing these injuries currently?
So we actually have quite a few guys injured. Some of the bigger names are Ryan Love, our receiver, which tore his Achilles. Orlando Geist, he is a guard and defensive tackle. Huge loss there. He has a sprain in his meniscus, I believe. We're hoping that he will be back within the next 3 weeks. We also lost D'Angelo Thomas to a wrist injury that happened during the Lake City game. He just had surgery on his right wrist, and hopefully he'll be back out with us next season. Michael Chandler is our assistant coach now, and hopefully he will be back out with us come playoffs. He has had a knee injury that happened quite a while ago, and he has been dealing with it for several years. But when he comes back, absolute game changer. And then we also have Montre Trumbo. He has a foot injury. He's one of our running backs. He's one of our change of pace guys. We've been using our bigger backs like Ragland and Trimble, and then we just added CD Spite as well, another big body. So when Montre comes back, that'll be a big boost for us to be able to run our outside zones, sweeps, etc. And the way we're dealing with all those injuries is just like every other team. It has to be just next man up. We're very lucky that we have a lot of depth at receiver. Ryan Love is not replaceable by any means, but it is nice to have some depth behind him that we can count on. Losing Orlando definitely hurts. That's one of those that every semi-pro team understands that linemen's like gold. So to find a big, strong offense and defensive lineman and lose him, that hurts. But like I said, next man up. Now once Michael Chandler is healthy enough to come back during playoffs, I'm going to be moving Dalo, number 37, over to our offense. That boy's lightning in a bottle, and that's going to be a game changer for us offensively and defensively to have Chandler back there as well.
Love at wide receiver, definitely a key injury that has been a factor. However, even without him there, like you said, we've had people that have been stepping up. We've got a victory. The run game, I have to say, it looks good right now, even if we do have an injury out. The run game looks solid last week. We'll see if we can get that going again next week. Do we have any new additions to the team since week one? I've seen a few new faces.
Yes, we've added quite a few since week one, actually. Some of the bigger standout names that come to me off the top of my head are Tyler Ray, which is a big body wide receiver. I think he's 6'3", a little over 200. Great routes, great hands, just a big body, a threat. And it's just nice to have, especially versus these smaller corners that we're going to start seeing here later on. We also added another big body back that has played with me before. His name is CD Spite. Powerful man. I mean, he runs like a thoroughbred. When he makes contact, you hear it every single time. And when he gets the ball, he treats it like a track meet. He is downhill and will run straight into a brick wall. He's a headache to tackle all game, especially tag team with Raglan. We've also added Darius Jones. He is a receiver from the Louisville area that has played in several paid leagues. I think the last league he was in was the spring league that happened right before the pandemic, and then all that got shut down. But he's actually opened up his own gym and training facility up in Louisville called Adversity Skills. You also definitely check that out. He's doing some great things for the kids and community up in that area. And just this past weekend, we added a big name to the area, Mike Marshall at quarterback. We know that we have Nick, and that is our offensive captain, but we didn't really have the guy behind him in case anything happened. And we all know that every team needs two quarterbacks. He is one play away from being our starter. So during this bye week, me and Mike and Nick are all going to be sitting down and going through the offense and going over the nitty-gritty details of everything to make sure that him and Nick both understand it fully.
I like Marshall in there at quarterback. Nothing against our main man in there, Elder, but Marshall reminds me of this almost a Michael Vick or an RG3. I can sit back in the pocket, I can pass it, I can deliver it, but at the same time I can scramble out to the right and still either deliver it or run for 5 or 6 yards easily. So I really like that new addition to the offense and having him as the backup quarterback. Looking at a position that doesn't have so many numbers, I mean, I look at the roster, and from 0 to about 45, almost every number is taken. But you look at the big numbers, the big boys up front, there's not a lot of them. Why is it that in this league, or any other league really for that matter, it seems that there's such a low number of offensive and defensive linemen?
Man, every semi-pro league struggles to find those big guys. And it always comes down to two things. They're either big and lazy, or they're big and hurt. And it's like gold to find a big guy that still wants to play, that is still capable of playing, and that can actually produce on the field.
I think we've got some of that gold. Might even have some silver out there, would you say, that we can turn into some gold. But definitely have key players up front. It just, you look at the roster and there's not too many of them. So an injury to a lineman really sets you back, whether it's on the offensive line or the defensive line. Sometimes those guys are playing both ways. Looking at our overall record, I mean, this team should be 3-1. Let's be realistic here. This team should be 3-1. Had the lead first 2 home games, could have held on to it. But the offense was creating turnovers. The defense wasn't able to hold because they were worn out thanks to the offense. But honestly, the record should be 3-1. But we're 1-3. Are playoffs even a part of the picture right now at 1-3? Or what are we thinking playoff-wise?
Playoffs are not out of the picture by any means. With us having the rougher part of our schedule early in the season with some of these contenders that we've already faced and competed with, that gives us just that much more confidence going into the later half of the season, especially after this win over a historic program like the Cutters. Well, hopefully can we ride that momentum into this Panthers game, get another W there, and then we can go on to our away game versus the Titans. Titans are a little bit of a question mark right now, just like the Seminoles where they just folded. That moves our record to 2-3 officially. With Elkhart, if we win that game, we'll be 3-3. And then we have the Titans, we'd be 4-3. And then we have the Wolverines, which is a far away game, which is going to be one of our tougher remaining scheduled opponents. After that, all eyes are on playoffs after that, and we understand that we are going to be an away team during the playoffs, and we are mentally prepared for that as well.
I'm hearing nothing but confidence. I'm hearing, yes, we're 1-3 on paper. We should be 3-1, but at the end of the season, we're going to be 4-3 and looking forward to traveling for the playoffs. It's a lot of positivity. It's a lot of optimism right there moving forward. I don't see Elder under center very often. I see shotgun 99% of the time. I mean, even when he's under center, we know it's going to be a run. We know he's holding on to it. We know we're handing off. Like, there's no surprise. There's been one play this entire season where he's been under center and it's been a pass. So why are we in shotgun 99% of the time? I mean, we're not the only team that does this, but I'm just curious as to why we choose to go into shotgun almost every single play, no matter what the situation.
The reason that we're in shotgun formation 99% of the time is back to the same special team situation where we added so many players late. I'm trying to get them to understand and digest my offense at its simplest form before I add too much. Right now we have 104 plays on the wristband alone, plus I can tag different formations, motions, and concepts to those plays. But it's not really about what I understand, it's about what they understand and can execute.
104 plays on the wristband is a lot, especially in shotgun. You got to have that lineman gold up front, or else people just pierce right through the offensive line, and the shotgun quickly goes to, as if he was right under center because nobody blocked for him. The Seminoles have folded. That's official. That's our July 31st home game. So who are we playing on the 31st? What happens on the 31st now? Are we even having a game? What's the last day of this month looking like?
With the Seminoles folding right now, we are looking to fill in that date. But after I talk to a few players and captains, we are probably going to lean towards practicing that week and getting prepared for playoffs, focusing on the things that we need to improve on. Special teams, base alignments on defense, and blocking schemes up front, just making sure everybody knows who to go to and where to go on every play and formation. We'll get down to the nitty-gritty details of everything that week and go into the playoffs feeling really confident and prepared.
So the record is officially 2-3. I believe I just stated that previously. But that means, more importantly, that the 10th, July 10th, is going to be the last home game, which would be the last live broadcast of the season. So make sure you tell your family and friends to tune in. One more thing before we go, Coach. I'm curious about traveling. Do we travel well? And if not, why not?
It's really a great question. Unfortunately, I don't have a clear answer just yet because we've only had to travel once. We took about 30 guys to a 4-hour trip up to Indianapolis, which isn't really bad at all, but it definitely needs to improve since we know that we're going to be a away playoff team. If we plan on making a championship run, we got to get that number closer to 40, 45. That way we don't run into the same issue like we did with tornadoes with our guys getting gassed and then by the fourth quarter literally not having enough guys to even go in because guys are on the sideline puking and exhausted and they just physically cannot go back in at that moment.
That is definitely a problem. We need to get our numbers up in regards to traveling for away games, especially being one of, if not the most southern team in the league here in Kentucky. We need to make sure that we have guys that are able to travel not only to Indianapolis, a few hundred miles up the road, but upwards towards Michigan to make sure that it's actually a competitive game. Coach, thank you for being here. Thank you for your time, and good luck. We're going to be live, Michael C. Wells Photography Facebook page. It's going to be this coming Saturday, July 10th. I believe kickoff is going to be 6 p.m. Look to our Facebook page and social media outlets for more details on that. I'm Michael C. Wells Photography, and this has been Inside the Locker Room.